big focus this hour. Hezbollah has launched dozens of rockets at Israel as tensions are on the rise in the Middle East after Iran and its allies readied their response to the killing of Hamas's political chief Ismail Haniyeh, which took place in Tehran earlier this week. As fears of a regional war continue to mount, US President Joe Biden has expressed hope that Iran would stand down despite its threats to attack Israel. Hezbollah has also said the attack was a retaliatory attack to Israel's strikes on Kfar Kela and Deir Syriane in Lebanon, after an Israeli strike in Beirut had killed Fuad Shukr, who was a senior military commander from Hezbollah. 3 US and Israeli officials have said they expected Iran to attack Israel as early as Monday, as per information that was provided by an Axios report. Meanwhile, the US has deployed additional military assets, including ships and fighter jets, to the Middle East amidst escalating tensions with Iran. This deployment aims to protect merchant vessels in strategic waterways like the Strait of Hormuz, where Iran has been attempting to seize ships. Specifically, the US has sent F-35 and F-16 fighter jets along with the destroyer USS Thomas Hudner to bolster its presence in the region. Joining us at this point is Ambassador J.K. Tripathi, former diplomat. We also have Major General Sudhakarji, defense expert, joining us live. Madhav Nalapat, editorial director of the Sunday Guardian, also is live with us. J. Angelmeier, executive editor of the Judean, also is with us live. Professor Nalapat, let me begin with you first. What do you make of the situation that is evolving with now retaliatory strikes by Hezbollah being launched against Israel?
Look, one of the most unwise things that could ever have been done by Joe Biden, he has done. And that is saying that, Iran should stand down. I mean, if Iran had any feeling that it should be less than very, very strong in its response, it just will not stand down, quote unquote, or have a feeble response after the US president says, oh, Iran should stand down. The last person Iran wants to obey is the US president. And I can't understand who are the people briefing Biden to make this kind of comment in such a volatile situation. Having said that, I'd like to point out that, look, the problem is Netanyahu honestly believes that you can finish off Iran through the US involvement. So he's, just as, for example, Zelensky is trying to involve the US, Netanyahu says, I don't mind widening the war. Someday, at one point soon, the US will be openly on my side. Look, Iran is just too big a target. It's too complex a target. And all that's happening is strengthening the Ayatollahs against the moderate people of Iran who basically don't like them at all. And who, given a chance, they'll revolt against them. But, you're making the Ayatollahs popular in Iran by the way you are doing disproportionately, you are acting to any action taken by the other side. Now, Netanyahu is always doing disproportionate actions, and this is leading to a counteraction. Again, another disproportionate action. And frankly, he's committing the same mistake that Ariel Sharon made in 1982. And that was to get involved in a fratricidal battle between the Shia and the Maronite Christians. There was no reason for Israel to get directly involved in that. Ariel Sharon said, I'm defense minister, I'll send the troops in. He sent the troops in, and they fought on the side of the Maronite Christians. And guess what? Israel is the one country in the world without a very significant Muslim population that is the target of Shia terror. We know manifestations of the extreme versions of Sunnis, that is Wahhabis. I wouldn't say Sunnis are like that. I wouldn't say Shia are like Khomeinists at all. But the fact is that terror groups are Khomeinists. And you have gone and basically, you have incentivized them to adopt a suicide bomber mode. I don't think Netanyahu understands what he is fighting. Now, Hamas, for example, military wing, yes, but the whole of Hamas, impossible. Ariel Sharon thought he could get rid of the whole of the PLO. Impossible. Finally, a peace agreement was signed after a lot of bloodshed on all sides. So the reality is, frankly, Netanyahu, by creating a situation in which Lebanon and Iran are directly involved, presumably in the belief that the United States will then get directly involved, and the United States has sent a naval vessel. The question is, it's meant as a deterrent. It's not going to deter them, I can tell you. Because now you're talking about Khomeini's groups. You're talking about Wahhabi groups in Hamas and Khomeini's groups like Hezbollah. Don't forget, there was an accord in 1990, I think, way back, between 1991, between all the different factions, Maronite and Muslim, and they came together in a unity government. Now, what happened? Hezbollah kept out of it and was too strong to challenge. And so, if you put Hezbollah in a mode of do or die, you're committing a grave mistake which is going to harm the people of Israel. Sharon has harmed the people of Israel because Israel has become subjected to Shia attack along with the other, Khomeini's attack, along with the Wahhabi version. And now you're putting Israel in mortal danger once again of a horrible kind of attack. And very importantly, this has made inevitable that Iran is going to develop a nuclear weapon. After this, I can tell you, there is no question. The Iranians will work at speed to develop a nuclear weapon. They'll try and do it clandestinely. Whatever way, they'll do it. Like Kim Jong-un, for example. After he saw what happened in Libya, after he saw what happened to Saddam Hussein, he said, I'm not going to get rid of my nukes. And I had predicted at that point in time, Libya and, following on Saddam Hussein, especially Libya, which gave up its WMD, now there's no chance of North Korea denuking. And now I can tell you there's no chance of Iran not going into a nuclear weapon stage. It will do so. And that is what has been created now. Netanyahu is Sharon on steroids, and the people of Israel know that. They are opposed to him, but unfortunately, he's on his own course. Uday.
Yes. Okay, Ambassador J.K. Tripathi, come in here because, the million-dollar question right now is how will Tehran respond? Where do you see the situation headed? Ambassador Tripathi, can you hear me? Okay, I think we're having some trouble there with Ambassador Tripathi. Major General Sudhakarji, why don't you take that, sir?
Yeah, Uday, thank you. Good evening, and thank you for getting me to your show. I think to a large an extent, Professor Nalapur deserves to have the last say. He has summarized, he nailed issues which generally doesn't touch the cerebral space of a layman. And I think he's actually done justice to the subject by making a very all-round covered the subject in a comprehensive manner. But having said that, your question basically is wanting me to respond to how is Iran going to respond? Firstly, we need to understand and realize that we are in the early part of 21st century. When I say about 21st century, let's not take our mind too much away from the Cold War 1.0. I don't think, because it is much to the dismay and disappointment of the mankind in this world order, that we hope for something, but we are getting something. We are nowhere close to the rules-based international order. Having said that, today, I think we have stoked fire and energized the inactive elements in a very polarized environment, that too in the West Asia. When I say that, what I mean is Hezbollah, Houthis, Iraqi militia, or the Hamas, these four non-state, they call it as a Mexican strategism. When you apply the Mexican strategism, in nutshell, what it amounts to is that every stakeholder, whether it is Iran, Saudi Arabia, Israel, or anyone in West Asia, is pointing two guns at each other. So without going too much into it, I have the following thought processes flitting through my mind. Iran has been pushed to a corner. It is about 1,800 kilometers away, physical distance away from Israel. They are the arch rivals in the West Asia. There is a rivalry between Shia and Sunni, 1,400 years of rivalry, which is actually very close to the heart which can open up new Pandora boxes of challenges. And in my opinion, Iran, having been pushed one after another, losses of top leadership, and that too the Hamas leader. No, don't take me amiss that I'm not stating anything in favor of terrorism,
हाँ कीर्ति
anything in favor of the Hamas. But all
मुझे
I'm
आवाज आ
saying
रही
is,
मेरी आवाज उनको नहीं आ रही
all I'm saying is that a Hamas leader, having been invited as a state leader to Iran, having been knocked off, he's been neutralized on the soil of Iran.
चलिए
It's,
पैक
perhaps
करा
it
दीजिए
is the last thing that can be accepted by any host. So therefore, following are the options. One, wait and watch. Number two, strategic deception and tactical surprise. Number three, Iran will apply all its resources along with the non-state actors and like-minded countries in the area. For example, let's not lose sight of the fact of Syria. Syria has whatever status it is today is partly, if not entirely, because of the support from Iran. And when we talk about Iran, Russia is not to be forgotten. So Russia and Iran put together, Syria is withholding some form of the rules-based order or some form of governance. So therefore, they will strike Israel for sure. But when and at what time, at what place is something very difficult to be predicted. Number two, when I talk about Iran, let's not lose sight of the fact that there are multiple stakeholders in the geopolitics today which are very, very close to Iran. For example, China and Russia. We all have heard in the recent news day before yesterday that the aircrafts have landed up with latest state-of-the-art equipment and warlike stores in Iranian soil. So is the case with the China is discreetly supporting Iran. And therefore, I think willy-nilly, what is going to happen, all the relevant stakeholders, be it the geopolitics or otherwise, are going to come into the conflict arena and pitch the axis of evil, the axis of resistance of Iran, and with that of America and the like-minded nations who are supporting the Israel. So where does it take us to? It takes us to nowhere. The conflict will intensify, and in foreseeable future, I do not see early termination of this conflict, nor is there a well-conceived or well-perceived design and architecture of an exit plan. Any military offensive carried out against any objective, a military leader is supposed to recommend to the political authority the exit plan. As of now, I do not see any kind of exit plan for Israel visible to me, and to the limited application we can do at this moment as far as the military science is concerned. Last but not the least, Uday, is that the geopolitics of 21st century is being driven by only one common factor, is the geoeconomics. The entire West Asia, without any exception, including Israel, has been deeply penetrated by none other than the elephant in the room is China. China has made very deep ingress and continue to hold its clout in a very significant manner in Palestine itself. It has gone to the extent of getting those factions of Palestinians together, 14 of them, trying to build a kind of a unanimity and a consensus, trying to build up a kind of a unity in diversity as far as the differences are concerned, so that they can actually meet the challenges being posed by the forces inimical to the creation of two-nation theory. Perhaps my understanding that it is the two-nation theory which will give a permanent and enduring solution to the ongoing conflict in Israel and the Gaza Strip today, and further extending to the southern Lebanon, and it may expand further to the eastern peripheries of all the bordering states and the nations. Therefore, the peace is the only answer, and it is, as of now, it is a very distant kind of objective which is striking the common man's mind, and the war is definitely going to get extended.
Does that mean then that we are seeing this conflict exacerbating, Ambassador Tripathi? Is that your perspective as well in the coming days?
again?
Ambassador Tripathi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Does that mean, is that your perspective too? You heard what Major Sudhakarji has to say. He's saying there is a threat in the next few days. Do you believe the conflict will get exacerbated Is it going to spread in the next few days, or are things, coming down? What's your sense?
Well, as of now, I would beg to differ a little bit from Sudhakarji, because one thing that we are not probably taking into account is that hardly any important Middle Eastern countries of the Islamic world have taken a stand. Be it Saudi Arabia, be it UAE, be it Egypt, be it even Qatar, Bahrain, they have not taken a clear stand, and they have not said that they will join Iran or they will join the axis of resistance against Israel. So in that scenario, I think Iran cannot and will not try to escalate the war so far. One point, you see, after Haniyeh's murder, Iran said that Iran will retaliate and to go to any extent. But so far it has been 4 or 5 days, Iran has not done anything substantive against Israel. So I think this war will be limited for some time to Middle East only, because if Iran tries to expand the war, then certainly US will have to come in with its troops, physically its boots on Israeli ground, Israeli or Middle East ground, which in this election year, American population, American citizens don't want, because they have already been clamoring that we don't want to receive our soldiers in body bags. And I don't think the Democratic Party can afford that dangerous situation or that dangerous outcome. So for the time being, it won't. Though, as Professor Nalapat has rightly said, Iran is almost at the verge of having a nuclear warhead, because as per unconfirmed reports, perhaps 92% of enrichment has been done by Iran. So that means that any day Iran can say that, can declare that we have the nuke. So in that situation, I think at least for the next 4 or 5 months, situation will not trigger to a world war or a big regional war. That's my take.
Yes. Do we have Jay Engelmeyer with us? Jay Engelmeyer? Okay, I think we're having some trouble with this connection there. But Mijil, Sudhakarji, quickly, coming back across to you at this point. Mijil, Sudhakarji, do you believe that something big is being planned by Iran? Do you believe this could be something potentially very, very serious? Or do you believe, Mijil Sudhakarji, that like the Hezbollah recent attacks, there will just be rockets fired, and that's something that Israel perhaps does have the mechanism to protect itself against?
Ambassador, having known him personally for a long time. But let me give my perspective as a soldier. So whether it happens or not, my way of looking at things in the world order today is that the world has to remain prepared for the criticalities, the worst situation. I'm not saying that it's going to break out tomorrow, the world war. It is going to be a very extended kind of animosity. It's not going to die down. Iran also as a nation has got some self-esteem and self-respect. Any self-respecting nation today, if his leadership is being knocked off one after another, a guest in the soil of Iran is being knocked off or being neutralized, will any country in the world take it so kindly? So I'm, as a common man, as also a soldier, I'm saying regardless whether it takes place or not, world should be prepared, because the entire economy, when I say that the geopolitics of the world order, Cold War 2.0, Professor Nalapat will bear me out. His book is a wonderful masterpiece document which everyone should read. Is unfortunately or fortunately has driven us into the geoeconomics. It is the geoeconomics of China. We have outsourced everything to China. And today we are horrified by the collapse of the supply chain and the price rise of the fuel, food, and fertilizer. The livelihood of the global south is directly impacted. So when I say this, it is directly dependent on the energy security. if not more, close to 60 to 65% of the global energy security today. Leave aside what is happening in Venezuela. We are still dependent on Middle East. If that is so, the kind of situation which is evolving by the day, Iran being a Shiite majority nation state, and the Sunnis, like the ambassador has outlined, yes, they would like to go in for the Abraham Accord. They would like to have peace. There is a strategic rivalry, to the best of my understanding, between two bipolars of the world, the USA and China. China wants to have an upper hand over the USA much prior to the election by going in for some peace deal, which is simply not visible to me, not possible. Also, alongside, there is a track 2 dialogue which is in progress from the American side. They want to break the ice and go in for the peace accord between Palestine, Israel, and Saudi Arabia as soon as possible, which is, I don't think it is a kind of achievable target. So therefore, in my opinion, I personally feel, regardless of whether it happens or not, the sequence of events, the chronology of developments which have taken place on the self-esteem of a nation state called Iran, I think it will not prevent Iran or make it exercise restraint against protecting its self-esteem in the global order.
Okay. Professor Nalapat, I'll leave the last word to you. I'm out of time. Professor Nalapat, 60 seconds.
Look, I'd like to point out Qatar has condemned Israel in the strongest possible terms. It hosts both Hezbollah and Hamas leaders. And secondly, no Arab state, even those who recognize Israel, whether it's Jordan or other states, none of them have supported Israel. The fact is very simple. The fact is that Russia wants to make this the Ukraine of the United States. They want the US they want US forces to get involved, or US supply chains at the least, like in Ukraine, to get involved. And they will want to try and convert the situation in Iran into another Ukraine. And my fear is that the Chinese are looking to convert not Iran, but to convert Israel into another situation of war, which of course they do not deserve. The Russians have offloaded, hundreds of tons of weapons over the last few days. Iran is waiting because it wants to be ready for a full-scale war. And the Chinese were supplying arms to Russia, which will be sending them. Chinese are usually very clever at this kind of dodging of responsibility. So I'd like to say very clearly, Syria, what happened? I had said from the beginning of this attack on Bashar Assad that Russia and Iran and China will save him. They have saved him, especially Russia and Iran. They've saved him. He's still around. He's got almost 4/5 of the territory of Syria back. So from that point of view, I'd like to say China is getting involved, has been involved, I'm sure, from the start, as it was with Hamas. It is shown openly now by having a meeting of terror and non-terror groups. And Russia is openly involved. So on the whole, we are headed for a very dangerous situation.
All right.
Plus, Netanyahu can de-escalate and do disproportionately. He can take some of that.
Yes. We'll be tracking this situation. We'll be tracking this situation. It remains, of course, evolving, but it remains very, very volatile. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.